Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. I really enjoyed that conversation with Andy Gibson. You know, Andy is a really, really dedicated commissioner of agriculture and commerce, and he's someone who's out there visiting in rural parts of the state. Seems like just about every day. Certainly understands farmers and outdoorsmen, and it's always good to kind of touch base with him and see what the latest is in his world. Now let's shift gears and move over to William McKinley. He's the Deer Program Coordinator for the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, and someone I really, really enjoy spending time with because he has a lot of responsibility when it comes to making sure we have a healthy herd of deer in the state. So without any further ado, let me welcome William back to the Super Talk Outdoors. How you doing, William?
I'm great, Ricky. Good morning.
So you're a little under weather. I'm battling a little case of COVID, unfortunately. You don't have COVID, but it sounds like you're hanging in there.
Yeah, I'm attributing just to a sinus infection. No fever, but just not great. But and man, the weather's so nice to be sick. It's highs in the 50s. It was 27 at my house this morning. Heavy frost. It's one of those mornings that I felt like I ought to be in the woods.
My buddy Mark Creech is up hunting on one of the farms that I lease up in the Mississippi Delta, and he sent me a picture. And it was a picture of frost on the ground, and then he sent a series of videos of deer out gallivanting, just kind of
rubbing
perfect
salt
condition.
in your wounds.
Say it again.
Rubbing salt in your wounds.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's there, and I'm on the coast trying to heal myself. Listen, we'll get in a minute to how this deer season is going, but we have to start with the important news. And that is that you actually found a chronic wasting disease positive test in Harrison County. That's a first.
Yes, it is. In fact, that's over 150 miles from any known positive, Ricky. And it just shows that this disease, it's likely in a lot of places where we haven't found it yet, and it could pop up anywhere. So we encourage people to get their deer tested.
So in the case of the counties that you guys have known about, are you seeing an increased likelihood that you're going to see more positives? Is that what you're seeing, more positives?
We are, and it's unfortunate, but once the disease reaches a threshold, it continues to increase. It begins to rise exponentially. This year, so far, we have 37 positives, and Benton County, Mississippi is certainly leading that with 22 positives. We're running about 1 in 3 bucks in Benton County are testing positive this year. And that's up from 1 in 5 bucks last year and 1 in 7 the year before. So unfortunate, the disease. What we desire to do is find it early so that we have some chances at managing it and preventing that exponential increase.
One of the things you and I have talked about before, we won't spend too much time on it. We'll get to the good news here shortly, but the interesting thing about this disease is it's so slow. It's just so incredibly slow in developing and in spreading. Mm-hmm. It gives naysayers an opportunity to push back and say it's always been here and we shouldn't worry about it. Survival of the fittest and all of that. But it's been proven from what we've learned across the United States that containment is our really big tool. And if we don't take containment seriously, we'll have significant spread faster. And it's just something we've got to stay focused on, isn't it, William?
It is. And that always been here argument. Benton County was one of our most sampled counties in the early 2000s. We sampled hundreds of deer. Now, if we sample 3 or 4, we find a positive in the north end of the county. So it's very clearly spreading. And the science shows that if you find it early, you've got some chances at keeping it low. Other states have shown that, but if you find it and it's already well established, your options for mitigating the disease are quite limited.
So look, one of the things that you urged us to consider, and that is that, well, we're doing a great job of passing on deer. We're doing a great job of growing big bucks. But when you have a commitment to growing big bucks and passing on deer, what ends up happening is you're not killing enough deer. You're not killing enough does, especially. And so having population density is not a good sort of benchmark for reducing the spread of CWD, is it?
It's not, but it's also not good for a lot of factors. Going to agriculture, your previous guest there, Commissioner Gibson, you know, we're getting a lot of complaints on agriculture from too many deer out there. We get complaints from cities. Bottom line is we need this deer herd to be a little lower than it is right now. And then we can actually grow which we're growing some really great deer this year. But it could be even better.
So are there programs out there? Look, here's one thing I hear. Like if we've got to go take 30 does off a piece of property, we don't know what to do with the does. I mean, we've taken all the meat we can take, and all our friends have taken all the meat they can take. What do you do then?
That's a good question, Ricky. So the Mississippi Wildlife Federation has a program called Hunters Harvest. There are numerous processors. Hunters can go on that website, find a processor near them. If it's not one near them, another great avenue are local churches. I know a lot of people in churches bottom line, they can find avenues for that venison. So I encourage people, don't let that be a hindrance to you harvesting deer. Just go out and do a little homework before you go hunting and find out what you're going to do with that venison.
Yeah, that's really good advice for sure. So we're getting into rut. It's dynamic. I know that my experience has been terrific, but what are you hearing across the state?
North Mississippi, Northwest Mississippi, especially. That's our first area of the state to come into peak rut. We're just past peak when you get into Coahoma, Tunica, DeSoto, that area of the world. And so honestly, in my experience of hunting and managing, the best time to harvest a really older, mature buck is right after peak rut. So that week or two immediately after the peak. So they're in prime time up there. Those bucks have had a doe now for a couple of weeks. They're out looking for another. And one of the misunderstandings of rut, we say a peak rut and we'll give you a day or two, but it's really over a several week window. So you get a few start to come in, then more, then it kind of peaks over a week and a half. And then it starts going back the other way. Well, once that buck has had a girl by his side now for about 4 weeks, he's actively looking after that peak. So they really respond to rattling well then too. But from a rut perspective, we're just about to come in around kind of north central Mississippi. We're coming into that, just about to begin peak, say Grenada, Tallahatchie, that portion of the world. And it will get a little bit later as you go further south, with Christmas around the Jackson area, Christmas to New Year's.
That's exciting. It's an exciting time. What, you hearing some reports of some big deer?
It's been a really great year already. I mean, just from big deer in Adams County to big deer. Cousin of mine, his wife harvested a really nice deer in Noxubee County yesterday, in the southwest end of Noxubee, not where a lot of the bigger deer often come from in Noxubee County, but hearing some really good reports, really good pictures. A lot of people have some really good deer and going along that. I hear you took a really good deer last week, huh?
Well, yeah, last Wednesday, 160 and 5/8 inch 9 point. One we had history with. My son Jordan had tracked it. We named it Stickers. It had kickers that came out the back, and we had 3 years of history on it. We think it was a 5 to 6 year old deer, somewhere in that range. And last year, you know, if someone would have shot it last year, we wouldn't have blamed them because it was a beautiful deer last year. But the fact that it made it, we were really thrilled about that. It was like a ghost. It would appear on the camera at 1 a.m. and then 7 p.m. and then we wouldn't see it for days and days, and then it would pop up again. Literally no rhyme or reason. So what we decided to do is just go sit in the stands and just kind of cover the area and just hope to get lucky, because at the end of the day, that's really all you can do. You know it's on the property, but you really don't know much more than that. You don't know where it's sleeping. You don't know anything else. And it was about 5:15, and I was hunting an area we call Bubba Duck, and it was has like a levee road around a pond, and we planted the road, and that's actually where the shooting house is. So about 50, 60 yards out. I wish I had this dramatic story to talk about. He came out chasing and all that, but that's not what happened. He just walked out and started eating. I thought it was a doe at first, and I looked at it with the binoculars, was going to take a picture of it for my sons. And when I looked at it with the binoculars, I almost absolutely passed out. And I'll tell you the rest of the story when we come back on the other side. But this is William McKinley. He's the director, the coordinator of the deer program for the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. And we'll continue the conversation on the other side. See you after this. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. I'm my friend William McKinley, the deer program coordinator for the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. Incidentally, I'm thrilled that I have the opportunity to do this show. A little under the weather today, but hey, man, the show goes on because I get to celebrate the incredible employees of the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. So many unbelievably dedicated and committed individuals who are really committed to conservation efforts in the state, and William McKinley is among them. Hey, when we went to break, William, I was just mentioning that I wish I could tell you this great story about this 160-inch deer I shot last Wednesday, but it came out and started eating, and when I looked at it with the binoculars, I literally couldn't believe my eyes. That's stickers, I'm thinking to myself. I grabbed my gun, brought the gun up, and I was so excited I forgot to take it off safety. And and my son Jordan made a good point that he said, "Did you flinch?" And I did flinch. And so when I took the safety off, I made certain not to flinch the second time, but I dropped it in its tracks and couldn't wait to get to it. Obviously put another round in the gun and watch it. I didn't want it to get up and go, but it dropped and didn't even move. And man, it was a monster. It was just an absolute. It's probably maybe God will make me fortunate. BB from BB's Processing told me. I said, man, I'm lucky when it comes to bucks. And BB said, no, son, you are blessed. And I thought, wow, he's right. So thank you for asking. It was an incredible experience and something that I will remember for the rest of my life. And it was worth getting COVID to get that deer.
You may say there's not a dramatic story there, but sounds like it started 3 years ago.
Yeah,
so
it did.
In deer management, and that's the fruits. It may have ended rather quick and kind of, almost uneventful, you might say. But if you look at the whole story, the whole story is pretty good. So watching a deer for 3 years, watching him grow, having that, and hey, take pictures of that deer and put them under the mount. Put them for the past few years of showing his, as y'all have been able to manage that deer over the years. Takes a lot of work to get a deer to that age, especially that 5% of deer that will actually make it to that size if you let them get to that age. So heck of a thing.
Well, thank you, William. And you're right about that. The drama really is in the 3-year journey that we were on and the close encounters and, you leave a deer stand and, 5 minutes later he came out into the food plot, it's like he knows when hunting light is over. But there are a lot of stories like that across the state. I've seen some incredible pictures that have been posted at Mississippi Whitetails on Facebook, and you see that, people contributing those pictures to you. But we have done a good job. You guys have done a good job of teaching how do you get deer, big deer. You've done a great job at that.
Well, our DMAP program, I can't say enough about it. That's our Deer Management Assistance Program. It started as a research project between Mississippi State, our agency, and private landowners in the 70s. It's been copied by nearly every state that has whitetail deer. And it's still going strong with well over 1 million acres under management. And hunters participate in that program. Our biologists give them site-specific reports. And you say, well, we impacted that 1 million or 2 million acres, but then they told their neighbors. And deer management spread through that program. And we may not have put boots on the ground on another property, but they learned from the property we taught. And that was the goal of the program. It was education. And it has helped with doe harvest. It has helped with antler criteria across the state. It has helped all the way around with just good, sound deer management, which, by the way, turns into good overall wildlife management, both game and non-game.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. We went from drought to wondering if we were going to get food plots to getting some strategic rain at the right time. The food plots don't look as good as they normally do, but they look fine. They're producing. Obviously, they're producing as indicated by my experience. But we went from, is this going to turn out, to just kind of turned out, and suddenly we're in the moment, and the leaves are falling, and it's cold outside, and rut is here. That transition, it happened pretty quickly, didn't it?
It did, and we finally got some much needed rain. Still not anywhere near where we want to be, and I know the waterfowl hunters wish it was raining a whole lot more, but we have got rain, we've got food plots going, and deer have been active.
Yeah, I had Bo Prestage on last week, and Bo talked about, I think he said 9 pumps he's got going, and in some areas where he had them pumped up, he had to go back and pump them again because you just the water just absorbing into the ground. All across Mississippi, duck hunters, there's either electric pumps going or diesel pumps going, and 24 hours a day pumping that water. We're still, ducks are still slow to get here, but I think, we've had 1 or 2 decent hunts, but you got some really, really good duck action coming as this cold weather gets here. If you have water, you're probably going to have ducks later in December and January. It's going to be exciting. Hey, listen, William McKinley, thank you for all your great work. Tell everyone in your department I said hello, and y'all keep focusing on making Mississippi the best in the nation. I appreciate you, my friend.
You're quite welcome. Thank you, Ricky.
You bet. Hey, listen, have a great day and stay safe. Unload that gun. Wear a safety strap. Don't get in a stand that you don't know is absolutely solidly installed. You know the story. Stay safe. God bless you, and we'll see you next Monday.